Jukebox in Raising Kanan episode 3 showed us that she was a character who was far advanced than even Kanan at this early stage in Raising Kanan. Pushed aside by her father Marvin, no doubt she had a lot of growing up to do on her own. Kanan told us during episode 1 that don't let Jukebox's voice fool you. She may be able to sing, but there's nobody as hard as Juke. And as episode 3 started to play out, there were a few Easter eggs and a lot of connecting the dots to the original Power series to show why we saw the Jukebox we saw on Power. So in this video, we're going to run through all of the Power and Power Book 3 connections and Easter eggs with Jukebox, and why it is now slowly starting to make sense why Jukebox was one of the most feared characters in Power. But if you are new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Book 3 and Power Universe related over the coming months. But let's start with Jukebox in Power, and we're going to connect the dots as I run through this video. But she was ruthless to say the least. She was merciless, a cold-blooded killer, and an opportunist. Those were some of the characteristics that we could associate with Jukebox in the original Power series. She brought this aura alongside her presence, where she was a feared character. Jukebox knew both Tommy and Ghost, and you could really see the fear in Ghost's eyes when Kanan told Ghost who Tariq was with. The fear in Ghost's eyes, along with Tommy's words calling her this crazy bitch after the events that unfolded with Juke kidnapping Tariq and Kanan killing her, told us that this was a character that is going to be one of the most cold and ruthless on Raising Kanan as the series progresses. She was unfazed by Kanan telling her that he was the one who killed his own son Sean, not Ghost. She said that Ghost was ultimately responsible for his death, and Sean was a pawn. A chess reference that we could relate to Kanan throughout the course of Power, and with him being 3 moves ahead of his enemies, but so was Jukebox. So let's talk about the first connection from Jukebox that we saw in Power to the one we saw on Raising Kanan, and we have to rewind it back to the very first time we were introduced to Juke in season 3 episode 3. This robbery scene that she orchestrated showed us that Juke isn't afraid to sacrifice her pawns. The pawn that I just made reference to is Sean. You could say Wookie was a pawn to Jukebox, and it shows what happens when you don't stick to the plan that Jukebox made. Now in Power Book 3 Raising Kanan episode 3, we saw Jukebox and her crew pulling this slick, the clothes that they were stealing to resell, and we saw what Jukebox does when someone doesn't stick to the plan when Rip went off plan. So we know Jukebox is someone who thoroughly thinks through, makes a plan, and then sticks to the plan, making sure all of her chess pieces are in place, just like the jewelry heist that she had planned. And I'm going to come to the jewelry heist later on in the video, but more importantly, Juke had a plan with Kanan to ransom Tariq's ass and then kill both Ghost and Tariq so Kanan could ride off into the sunset, and in Jukebox's word, it would have been a flawless fucking victory. Now Jukebox knew that Tariq was the hustle. She made sure that Kanan was still sure on killing him. Kanan wanted to break Ghost for what he did to him, but Juke wanted to break him twice, once through the pocket and once through the heart. And I would go as far as saying even Kanan feared Jukebox a little during Power because of how cold she was. We saw Kanan following Jukebox's orders, just like we did in episode 3 of Raising Kanan. Now the plan to ransom Tariq took a turn because Ghost was arrested, but in season 4 episode 5 with Ghost now out of prison, the plan was back on track with Jukebox saying we're gonna get the money from Ghost and then they're gonna kill them both. When Jukebox makes a plan, she sticks to the plan, just like we saw her doing in episode 3 of Raising Kanan. But that's not all, she followed this up in the next episode of Power, warning Kanan to not fuck it up with the plan. But let's take it back to the timeline of Power Book 3 Raising Kanan in episode 3, where she taught Kanan how to sell, who to sell to, and how much for. And what did Jukebox say? Don't fuck it up. And it's exactly why we heard Kanan in Power say to Jukebox, I ain't gonna fuck this up, why'd you keep saying shit like that? And it's probably because Kanan does fuck up a lot of shit which Jukebox has to help him with early on, because Kanan was someone who was taking orders from Juke in Power. She was running things and making all the moves on the chessboard because Kanan did fear what Juke was capable of, and I'm sure through the rest of the series we're going to see her unleash this real killer side to her character, because we have seen 2 sides to her so far. In my review and recap video after watching episode 3, I mentioned Jukebox's double life and how we've seen Jukebox who lives this life with Nicole as Laverne, and when she's not with Nicole, she's in South Jamaica, Queens. She's Jukebox. Her sweet innocence and loving personality that she shares with Nicole instantly turns into Jukebox the minute she has to go back to Queens to pull this slick. Now we haven't seen this killer Jukebox yet, and it is something that we will see in time, but I do think just like Kanan said how you ain't a real killer till you kill someone you love, the same could be said with Jukebox. I'm sure she turns into a real killer when she kills someone she loves as well during Raising Kanan. Who that could be, who knows, but it could be a few people, maybe Nicole, and I've had a few comments across my channel where people have even mentioned that Jukebox could even go as far as to killing her own father, because we know they don't really see eye to eye or have much of a connection. Now we heard in Power that she was kicked out after Marvin found out about her sexuality and her relationship with Nicole, so that's something we're yet to see and another story that will connect the dots to Power. Now one question which I wanted to dive deeper into is Jukebox's hustle. Why does she not want to get involved in the Thomas family business just like Kanan? In episode 3 we also saw Jukebox, who was a hustler from a very young age, and we saw her pulling these licks and robberies that we saw her do in Power. Jukebox was born a hustler and no doubt pushed to fend for herself with the lack of affection that she gets from Marvin, and even more so when she gets kicked out, which I'm sure we'll see at some point during Raising Kanan. She tells Kanan, listen up, we have the dudes that are rapping in the corners, college kids, bum skis, and skateboarding suckers, and then the best bet for Kanan is to sell to these college fools because they've got money and they like that powder. walk up to them, tell them what's up, say what you got, but make it stoppy enough so you could be sounding crazy or some shit. She knows how much money they can sell and what they can sell, to who and where, and she tells Kanan that they can sell it for 50, and Kanan goes and sells it for 25. Now we saw Jukebox hustle and make money when she was selling her clothes, and if it were her, I'm sure she would have got 50 for sure. And that's because Jukebox was born a hustler, and now we've really started to see these traits from her. But why did Jukebox never go into selling blow end product just like Kanan did? After all, she grew up with the Thomas family, spent every Wednesday evening at Lamont's diner with her family, and I'm sure at some point she grew really close to Lulu because of their love for music, and they'll have a connection through music. So why did Jukebox never go into selling product? Let's take it back to the chess reference where I spoke about how Jukebox knows the game of chess with the use of pawns, and I do think we'll see Jukebox develop a sense of her surroundings and know that drug dealers either end up dead or in jail because of what happens to her family. And Jukebox is smart too. She was also someone who was referred to Stuyvesant, but it was just Marvin who never listened to her. So I feel Jukebox will really start to learn about her surroundings and probably know that pulling licks and robberies, there's less risk you can end up dead. Sure, you can end up in prison, but this is where her role as a cop comes in. At some point while Kanan was inside, she decided to join the police force because in Power, when we were introduced to her character in season 3 episode 3, we were told through the news report that Laverne Garner was an 8-year veteran of the police force. So at some point during Kanan's prison term, she became a cop. Now I'm sure as smart as Juke is, she knows that drug dealers either end up dead or in jail, so if she became a cop then she can play both sides of the law while continuing to pull her licks and robberies, but gaining an even bigger advantage on the streets when doing so, just like when we saw her planning the jewelry heist in Power, using the advantage of being on the scene of the crime but on the other side of the law, telling the cops that she saw 5 white male suspects and in essence throwing them off the scent. And this was Juke playing chess, being 3 moves ahead, so Kanan wasn't the only one who could play the game of chess. But did a conversational relationship grow at some point either with Detective Howard or Detective Burke for Jukebox to really think about a career within law enforcement? They're 2 completely different sorts of detectives with different motives, and I really wouldn't be surprised to see Jukebox at some point having a conversation or 2 or being swayed by one of them in the future. So there's still so much more to see from Jukebox's character in terms of things we've not seen, and the things that we need to watch out for is a relationship with Marvin, which will get worse as time goes on. I'm sure she'll spend a lot of time with Lulu in the studio and building more of a relationship with Lulu than she does with Marvin because of their love and connection for music. We've already seen her confide in Raquel, and we still need to see her first kill and when Kanan called her when he dropped his first body. Who those first 2 kills are going to be with her first kill and Kanan's first body, I'm sure we'll find out later in season 1 or season 2, but I'm sure as Jukebox said to Kanan in Power in episode 3 of Raising Kanan, don't fuck it up. That won't be the last time we've heard this phrase, and there's going to be plenty more times where Kanan does fuck shit up. So that's just a little character analysis and a connection video from Jukebox from Power to Jukebox in Raising Kanan, and I'm going to create a similar video to what I did in Power Book 2 Ghost with all of these connections, which I'm going to leave the link to down below in the description and in the comment section. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section about Jukebox, the Jukebox that we saw in Power and the Jukebox that we've so far seen in Power Book 3 Raising Kanan, with the connections and the small Easter eggs that this show is dropping from time to time. Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and of course if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Book 3 and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.